The Ethereum ETFs have officially been approved, but is this bad news for Bitcoin? Does it change our all-time high prediction for the cycle? We're going to have that discussion, a very, very important one. Sad news as the original dog from Dogecoin has sadly passed away. We're going to pay tribute to our friend there as well, who really was a pioneer in a sector that's made people millions of dollars. We're also going to talk about two altcoins that could potentially hit $10 billion in market cap over the next few weeks. We'll discuss those. Also, Grayscale has launched two trusts. Which tokens do they pick for their trust? We got big news from Definity and the ICP community. They are currently at a convention in Zurich, Switzerland. Which chain are you officially able to play around with from the ICP ecosystem? We got that. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin flows. We're going to take a look at some charts. And also, what is it going to take and which one will be the next altcoin to get an ETF? We'll break everything down for you on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel. We take old, boring, and, well, stale information, repackage that whole thing up in a fun and sexy way.
Checking out your hair. What's going on?
It's a little Elvis on the right, a little bit of
Party in the front, or what is it?
little Bruno Mars in the back.
Business in the front, party in the back.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just, my hair's up and to the right, like Bitcoin is in the last 24 hours. So there you go.
That's pretty good. Today is Forest Friday, my favorite day of the week. My man Forrest been joining us since, like 700 subscribers?
Yeah, in a while.
Been a while. We love having him on. He's a dear friend. Forrest, how you doing, brother? Welcome back.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on as usual.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for joining us, Forrest. A lot to talk about today. Ethereum ETF got approved. We didn't get a chance to get your take. Everything just kind of happened at once, right? Tweet came out Monday from the Bloomberg guys, James and Eric, said, we're going from 25 to 75% approval odds. And then this massive whirlwind of news and rumors and, of course, price action. Ethereum rallied from $3,000, almost $4,000 in almost a single day. Like, how shocked were you when this happened? And what was kind of your takeaway when the news hit?
Yeah, a little bit surprising, but it just seems like it's the crypto in the last 2 to 3 weeks, ever since Trump came out as so pro crypto, has just accelerated its path towards becoming a major political talking point. And it feels like a lot of this latest last minute pivot into approving the Ethereum ETF is very politically driven, as opposed to the actual stance of Gary Gensler and the SEC. It looked like they were trying every possible way to potentially deny that ETF. They were going after the Ethereum Foundation, and then last minute, it's almost like they got marching orders to, hey, this thing's got to get approved because we're losing votes. But no, it's good. I think it's good for crypto. That's what we want. We want TradFi acceptance of crypto and Ethereum. So I think it's a net positive.
Good for crypto, but is it bad for Bitcoin? We'll have that discussion. Also want to note, staking was not included. That was the one wild card component where I thought would have made this ETF extremely unique, as it would give the ability for the ETF issuer to take that Ethereum they buy on behalf of their clients, stake it, and earn 4 to 5, 6%, and then be able to either pass those down to the ETF holders, their clients, as far as maybe 0% fees. What would that do to the Bitcoin? Obviously, we don't have staking in it now. And also would like to note that the 19B4s got approved, but you need the S1s to get approved for it to launch. And James has been on multiple podcasts talking about, hey, this thing could take weeks. And so also a lot of speculation on Solana going to get one this year. Not so fast. I'll kind of break down exactly what needs to happen before any spot ETF gets approved by the SEC. Speaking of ETFs, let's start with Bitcoin, the only one that is currently able to take flows in and get flows out. So yesterday's inflows, we had 89 million from BlackRock, 19.1 million from Fidelity, Grayscale had a small outflow day of 13.7 million, which brought our total net flow to positive $107.9 million. Rob, any thoughts on the ETF flows we've seen over the last, the last red day we had was 2 weeks ago, right? 84 million outflows. We've had multiple, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 days of positive flows, with all but one of those being in the hundreds of millions of dollars. What's your outlook on this? And then we'll get into the ETH maybe taken away from Bitcoin.
I think the flows are in the right direction, but one thing that we want to take a look at for the next leg up on price is volumes out of the ETFs. So if you take a look here, I have the volumes chart, and we saw a spike back in March, and this was when we got up to the previous all-time highs, or we were making right around that time window. And since then, we've kind of cooled down on the trading volume, or at least the daily active volume on these ETFs. And once this kicks up, because obviously the flows are in the right direction, right? We got inflows, Grayscale selling has subsided. The largest holder of Bitcoin now has flipped from Grayscale to BlackRock. So for me, once the volumes kick up, that's when we get to that $80,000, $90,000 Bitcoin. I think if we see what we saw back in March here in the center, when we get flows like this, volume like this, and you couple that with the inflow direction that we're going now, plus the presidential, and I think that'll fuel the volume as well. But once we get the volume shooting up and out of the ETFs, I think the downside sell pressure, the outflows, is subsided to a point to where once the volume ticks up, this thing is going to skyrocket. And I do think that this is coming up. I think within the next, I would say, month. I don't know if I would go as far as saying the next couple of weeks, but then perhaps the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think we're going to see a big tick up in volume. And if you start seeing 1 week of these daily, we had daily volume of 3 billion, 3 billion, 7 billion, 4 billion. Once we get one solid week of this, I think I think the trend continues, and we get 3 or 4 weeks in succession of high volume. We had volume almost as high as $10 billion on our peak day for volume there. So.
Forrest, I'm curious to get your insight here. So, we joke and say this time is different, but really, this market cycle is very different, right? This is the first time in history where we haven't had that regulatory dark cloud over our industry. Essentially, by the SEC approving the Ethereum ETF, they have labeled Ethereum a commodity, essentially, right? We can kind of say that. We can come to that conclusion. Which means if we extrapolate that out, a majority of the top altcoins we can also speculate are not securities. So we have that. We have regulatory clarity on some level. You have the FIT21 bill that just passed in the House, does need to pass in the Senate. We have the first time ever where we have these, the Wall Street rails, right? The ETFs for institutional investors to be able to come in and put money into the ecosystems, specifically Bitcoin, but maybe that'll trickle down to some of the altcoins. What's your thesis on this market cycle, and has the Ethereum ETF approval changed your outlook at all?
I think the Ethereum ETF approval does make a stronger case for like getting an alt season sooner rather than later. I think we're getting closer and closer. It's just kind of everything's just waiting for Bitcoin to break out. It's very difficult to sustain a strong altcoin rally if Bitcoin's sitting in the same range it has been for the last 90 days. So Bitcoin breaks through 70K, moves up 75, 80K. I think you're going to see a lot of altcoins chase pretty hard. But as far as just my general outlook on the cycle, I do believe we're probably more front-loaded than other cycles. I think, we probably see a, potentially more abbreviated cycle than what we've seen in the past, or, faster cycle. I think we're just in a faster moving market as the market matures. But that doesn't mean there's still not, tons of upside potential in the market. And again, I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, ETH ETF, I think it's very bullish for altcoins. I think there's going to be a lot of speculation on, what's getting the next ETF. Is it going to be Solana? Is it going to be XRP? Is it going to be Dogecoin? Is it going to be something else? So yeah, I think overall very, very healthy for the altcoin market.
Rob, you have something?
No.
I was going to ask you. Forget what I was going to ask you. But Forrest, you brought up other ETFs. I do want to know, right? So people are saying we're going to get a Solana ETF this year. We're going to get a Avalanche ETF this year. What I want you guys to understand is this: is for the SEC to approve a spot traded product, they have to be able to track how the futures price correlates to the actual spot price, and they do that through platforms like the CME. And so the reason we're able to get a Bitcoin and an Ethereum ETF is because the futures trading for those two coins have been on the CME, a regulated Wall Street exchange, for a very long time, to the point where the SEC can say, okay, futures trading and the price very similar. Let's go ahead and approve it. You can take a look at here, the CME website here. Bitcoin and ETH are the only ones that are on here, right?
Yeah.
And so for us to even talk about or begin to talk about an approval for Solana, an Avalanche, a Cardano, an XRP ETF, this is where you have to see a futures listing. Now, what I do think is going to happen, and by the way, the experts are saying, typically, it's not just, it's on the futures exchange, 3 months later, let's approve it. They want to see minimum 18 to 24 months of price action. And James Seyfert even went on to say on a podcast that these guys, they literally follow the 5-minute candles to see how exactly correlated the futures price tracking and the actual spot trading of these tokens is. And so I think minimum, you're looking at least 2 years, right? You get the filings for the futures, you get that tracking period, and then, hey, you get these applications, the review. Probably, can we see some of these ETFs come out in the bear market? We're looking forward. Can those be the catalysts in the next bear market that we get? Now I remember what I was going to ask you. A lot of people have talked about a super cycle, Robin. Do you think this is enough to make a case for a potential super cycle to where we don't see, and I'm not saying we're not going to get any drawdowns, but we're not going to see that 70, 80% drawdown 2-year long bear market. We might see 3-month positive price action, maybe 2 to 4 weeks of downtrend. Or do you think it's going to be the same thing it's always been?
I don't really care for the term super cycle. And so what I would say is that I would expect that we break that 4-year trend for the big bear market pullback. So to answer your question, yes, I do expect the typical 2.5 year bear market to be a thing of the past. I think that will we have a natural pullback that probably lines up at the same time that it has in the previous cycles? I think so. Will it bounce back pretty quickly? Will we get false bottoms, things like that? I think so. I genuinely think that this time is different, and I know it's kind of comical to even say that, but at this time, Bitcoin is not just an asset that trades on offshore exchanges. This is a product that's been labeled a commodity, at least the top two. And this is something that is on that's on the platform for portfolio managers. And, and the thing is that institutions, banks, the last few weeks we've come out with headline after headline of this bank is now has exposure to Bitcoin, these retirement accounts and portfolio managers and MicroStrategy and Tesla. And either way, this isn't your typical retail that gets spooked out of the market. And so I think that the institutions and these big whales that has essentially driven the bull markets as of so far, these people are not going to be shaken out of their position because of a drawdown, because the cycle is here, because the mania is here. Now, I do think that shakeout does still play out more or less further down the risk curve in the meme coin sector and the speculative sector and maybe this Web3 if that gets overheated. But I don't see this happening in Bitcoin. I don't see Bitcoin getting up to, let's say, 300,000 and then dumping all the way down to 60,000. I think that those days are gone. I think that the long-term investors are not going to be swayed by a pullback. and that they have a long-term time horizon.
I'll kind of come at it at a different angle here. I'll come at it at the angle of if we do see those 50, 60% drawdowns, these institutions are the ones that have the billions of dollars to deploy into the markets versus. So what does that mean? Does that mean we get faster bounces off of lows? Yes. Does that mean the bear markets are maybe not as long? I believe potentially yes. And so we're talking about unlocking like trillions of dollars of potential liquidity. If you look across the board, all the asset managers, and you take a look at an asset that they got in at 40,000 is now trading at 150,000. They decide to take profits or exit the market. Price drops back down to 50, 60,000. They're going to have billions of dollars to pour right back in because they've seen the historical price action of Bitcoin. And so I think that is also something that is,
Well, also, just to expand on institutions and whales and banks getting exposure to Bitcoin, we had Matt Hogan on earlier this week, and he explained to us that portfolio managers and investment firms that have a position on crypto or Bitcoin, it's a set position, right? It's 5% of portfolio. So what they do is they rebalance. So if we see Bitcoin go up to say 200,000, and now their position is inflated from 5% of their portfolios in Bitcoin to 8%, they're going to sell off. So at the same time, we might not get that big drawdown for a bear market, but I think because of institutions and big money having exposure to Bitcoin, also that's going to tamper down the run up, because at the end of the day, the big money, the smart money, the whales here aren't going to just blindly hold and get a 2, 3, 4x on their position without selling. They're not going to hold all the way through into quote unquote a bear market. They're going to sell on the way up as it exceeds their position that they've allocated for their portfolio. And so is it going to be a super cycle? I think when you say that, I think people think, oh, it runs up to 300,000, never pulls back. I think what we get here is a slow, gradual,
Who said that?
A slow, gradual run up and to the right. We get to $120,000, $150,000 Bitcoin, and I think it just doesn't go quite as parabolic as people are expecting. Now, not saying that the price is going to be subdued, it's going to be a boring bull market, but I just don't think that you're going to get that giant candle where you get 80% of the price accumulation within a short 2 to 3 month window. I think that is more spread out as well, and there's going to be a longer accumulation process than we've seen in the past. And at the same time, a less and more drug out sell-off as well, or bear market.
Do you have anything you want to add to this conversation for us?
On the topic of is this a crypto super cycle?
Yeah, that, and then just anything we kind of discussed.
Yeah, so I mean, on the CME futures topic, there is an interesting development in that Coinbase futures. And keep in mind, Coinbase is the custodian for a lot of these Bitcoin ETFs. Their futures trading, they have had Bitcoin and Ethereum listed for Coinbase futures trading in the US for a while now. But recently, in the past month, they did add Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Dogecoin. So now those are the only 5 that they have. Would be interesting. There's been a lot of speculation that Coinbase adding those 3 could be because they're trying to line up for ETFs in the future. But again, could be a while before we see those. As far as super cycle goes, I'm not in that camp personally. As far as crypto super cycle, I think the super cycle's in gold and silver. Inflation adjusted the peak, the silver peak, the $50 silver peak in 1979. Inflation adjusted now would be $209 silver. The gold peak in 1979, and this was at like the peak, or like where inflation was the big narrative, was that peak translates to like $3,600 gold, and I think it's trading at like $2,200 or something right now. That's where I think the super cycle is going to be. I personally, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer, I hate to be that guy. No one likes talking about recessions.
Don't be that guy.
When the S&P 500 is at all-time highs.
Don't do it.
But I think 2025, 2026, we're going to get our recession.
2025, 2026. Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to see how crypto and Bitcoin react. Before we get into the topic of, hey, does this Ethereum ETF, is it eventually going to harm Bitcoin? I first want to give a big shout out to our channel sponsor. Today's 4K stream is brought to you by Radix. So I do want to highlight something that Radix just rolled out. So this was their, they tweeted this out. So a program called Token Trek. So to earn your piece of the $120,000 prize pool, Token Trek is designed to boost Radix's on-chain activity by rewarding quest completions with XP. Reaching XP milestones unlocks XRD rewards. Here's how you get started. I'll go ahead and retweet this, and you guys can go to our page. And if you want to participate, maybe get your share of this $120,000. Definitely recommend you do it. So big thank you to Radix. They are a channel sponsor.
120 grand?
120 grand, yeah. Pay for the wall. Also, want to give a big shout out to our other channel sponsor, which is Cam's Blue Wire Technology. Cam's has been extremely pivotal in our move from 1080 to 4K and all of our networking issues that we've come across. And so a matter of the fact is, if it wasn't for them, probably wouldn't be watching in 4K today. So big thank you to them. If you want to learn more, they can help your business. Visit bluewiretech.com or click the link in the description of this video.
David, I did want to, before we move on, I did want to say that, you know, even though the blueprint for ETFs is at least laid out by Bitcoin and Ethereum is for it to be listed on the CME. You know, I pose a question. If BlackRock were to apply for, say, a Solana spot ETF, would they get denied? Because I'm still in that camp. And
I don't even think they would.
What's that?
I don't even think they would. I mean,
No,
you're saying they would just jump a step?
Why not?
I mean,
that's what I'm saying is that
I don't know.
They have enough influence. And I remember I was sitting here.
There's a difference between influence and like following the guidelines, right?
There's also just straight, hey, we want to make money. BlackRock didn't get to where they were by being conservative, right? They pushed the boundaries. They had heavy political influence and decisions in Congress. They backed a lot of money. And right now, one of their key areas of development for BlackRock is with crypto ETFs. They got the Bitcoin ETF approved. I don't care what anybody says. It was them. They got the Ethereum ETF approved. Once again, it was them. And if they apply for something else, I just find it extremely hard to believe that they would get denied.
But that's assuming they apply. Knowing
that was my whole thing. My whole thing is not that there's one in the pipeline, there's a rumor. I'm just saying that, hey, they're making a ton of money off of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'm sure somebody there behind the scenes is posing a question like, hey, we would like to get this ETF application for said product. Maybe it's Solana, maybe it's Dogecoin, maybe it's Litecoin. Maybe it's Ondo, one of the chains that they're already working with. What I'm saying is that to blindly assume that we're going to simply follow the protocol that has already been laid out, I think there's not enough historical data. It's not like we have 1,000 ETFs or 100 or 50 ETFs and they've all followed this. We've had 2. And you know what? It's still a very new space. And you know what? Who's making the most money is BlackRock. And I'm telling you, there's more coming down the pipeline, and maybe they go straight to spot listing, and maybe they pull their weight. And I know you're over here grimacing.
Well, I don't know,
but at the same time, when I said here, like over and over again, I'm like, they're not going to deny this ETF they're not going to deny BlackRock's ETF. And you laughed at me. You're like, no, like whatever.
I did not laugh at you. I smirked.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that these guys are in the business of making money. They are the most successful company globally, and they're killing it in crypto right now. And right now, crypto's hot, Solana's hot, and so I just would not surprise me if we come in tomorrow, they got an application for a spot ETF product for Solana. I'm not saying that that's the what they're going to do, but I'm just saying that I wouldn't come in here and be like, oh, guys, can you believe BlackRock did that?
I don't have enough expertise in ETFs to even know if that's something they can do.
They can do it.
I don't know.
Okay, Bitcoin spot ETF first got applied for by the Winklevoss twins back in 2013. They went straight to spot and got straight denied too. But it's not outside the legal framework to submit a spot application prior to a trading. Remember, the CME and the New York Stock Exchange are two completely different markets. Now, one may look at the other to see what the market trends are, but they're two separate markets. And so it's not a requirement for one to be listed. Now, it might be ideal. It might be a good benchmark or good analytics to say, hey, how is the volume traded? How is this price followed? Is it, you can point to it and say, hey, this lines up for what we would like to see. But two different markets, one's in Chicago, one's in New York. And there are correlations, but
that's an interesting point. So, I was looking around. So the first Bitcoin futures ETF was 2021. And as you mentioned, the Winklevi, right? They applied for a spot ETF in 2013, but they got denied. So your thing is BlackRock doesn't get denied.
They don't get denied. Simple as that.
Forrest, what are your thoughts on that, Forrest? It's a very intriguing question here.
I mean, what are they now? 586 and 1. I mean, yeah, I think if they apply for it, they're gonna get it. Especially after the precedent that was just set with ETH. It was like no one thought they were gonna get it, and then all of a sudden, the last second, things changed. No one thought except for Robin. Robin called it for sure. But yeah, I mean, if whatever they apply for next is buy. Like if they apply for Dogecoin next, buy Dogecoin. If they apply for Solana next, buy Solana. I just think it's very unlikely they get denied. I would agree with.
Interesting.
Now I'm not at all pushing back on. I do think that the experts are correct. I think that ideally for another ETF, I think it would follow the blueprint. It would follow the roadmap that we've seen before. List on the CME. Trade there for a little while, file the spot, it'll get approved. I think that's what we would expect.
BlackRock just going to say, you know what, Gary?
Hey, if BlackRock's looking like, hey man, we want another spot product, let's go. Like I wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Interesting. I don't have the answer to that, but hey, if they file, not going against them. Track record, right? All right, let's have this conversation. So, is Ethereum ETF threat real? Analyst predicts ETH will flip BTC. One of the analysts, Jim Bianco, underscored that Ethereum's recent regulatory relief and imminent ETF could tip ETH to flip Bitcoin before the next halving in 2028. He said, quote, a truly great week for Ethereum. Bitcoin is not dead, but will now have to surf in the wake of ETH's coming regulatory freedom, flipping before the halving. The question here for us is, where's the money going to come from for the Ethereum ETF? Is it going to come from the Bitcoin ETFs? Is it going to come from fresh capital? What's your outlook? And is this a net negative for Bitcoin? And I'm throwing a lot at you here, but flipping, like ETH flipping Bitcoin? I mean, what are your thoughts on all this?
On a long enough time frame, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that ETH ever flips Bitcoin. I think it's quite possible. I'm not one of those people that are like Bitcoin's only ever going to be number one and that's never going to change. I'm open to that changing. Is the Ethereum ETF going to divert flows away from Bitcoin? Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very obvious that that's going to happen. It's like imagine being like the only coin on Coinbase, right? Like you're the only coin on Coinbase and they have, 100 million investors, 100 million traders. They can only buy one thing, Bitcoin, right? Obviously, if you introduce a second token, yes, that may bring in more net investors. And yes, that may be net bullish, like a rising tide lifts all ships. That may bring more people to Bitcoin and on the longer term time frame. But in the immediate term, I think it's absolutely going to divert flows away from Bitcoin and into ETH. So I don't think it's necessarily bearish for Bitcoin in the sense it's going to just send Bitcoin to zero. I don't think like people are going to massively sell their Bitcoin for ETH forever. But I do think there's going to be reallocation of capital. And what I do think it's bullish for is the ETH Bitcoin ratio, right? I think ETH dominance will go up. I think ETH Bitcoin, which is already, it's been bleeding out forever, but it looks like it's put in a bottom after this ETF decision got approved. I think ETH in relation to Bitcoin, like ETH outperforms for a while. Especially once these things go live. So I think, we've seen that ETH Bitcoin bleed for years now, and maybe we get a year or maybe 6 months of ETH Bitcoin trending upwards and reversing course as it enjoys some of the same market share that Bitcoin enjoys over on the ETF TradFi front.
What are your thoughts, RPK? Do you think
RPK?
you think Bitcoin flows are in trouble here? Are you adjusting your all-time high call for Bitcoin?
Sure.
What do you mean?
Okay, we're spot on analysis here by Forrest. Do we see ETH run up? Will it outperform Bitcoin in, say, the next 12 months? Yes, and yes. Is it in a short-term time horizon? Is it a better play to have Ethereum right now? Absolutely. Both of them had a massive injection of liquidity per the Wall Street markets, the largest capital markets globally here in the United States. That is going to bring in some massive inflows. And obviously, smaller market cap from Ethereum. I think there's more upside potential. Not to mention that going into this bull market, you're going to see a lot of developers and dApps and a lot of utility being used. And so right now, the DeFi nerds are going to come out of whatever gopher holes they're been hiding in.
Gopher holes.
Gopher holes they've been hiding at in the last
2
years in the bear market, and they're going to pop up and they're going to be playing with DeFi, and I think that a lot of that's going to be centralized on the Ethereum blockchain. Even though transaction fees are a little exorbitant, throughput might be a little higher than normal, but didn't stop people from playing around in the playground.
Or says higher for longer.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When we had the $150, $200 transactions last bull market, it didn't stop people from interacting with Ethereum.
But there's more products.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I'm just saying
what do you mean it doesn't
people
matter?
what I'm saying is that people were willing to,
Because there was not a lot of potential. If you're in a neighborhood and the only supermarket 10 miles from your house is in a super overpriced Glazier's, and then you got to shop there, and then in two years later, and then you got Walmart, you got Target, you got Smith's.
And you know what? When 4th of July weekend comes around, people are still shopping at Whole Foods. Doesn't matter if you're local.
If you have more options, here's the thing though. If you have more options, you're not inclined to go to one place. You have more. Last cycle, it was really only
there was options last bull market.
What options? What true options were you had?
You had BNB chain. You had Solana.
Not even
Cardano
close
just rolled out
to where it is.
Cardano
had
just
no
rolled
smart
out
contract.
They did on the back end.
The very end of the bull
The
market.
thing is that people like expensive stuff, and
This is the dumbest argument. You are making such a bad argument.
Okay, you can go buy a purse at Ross, or you can go to Louis store.
Where are
pay
majority of people
$5,000
buying their purses?
for a purse?
Okay, where are the majority of people buying their purses? At Ross or at Louis Vuitton?
Have you seen how nice those Ross stores are? They're not very nice, but there is like 8 Louis Vuitton stores here on the strip. There's one at Crystals, there's one at Bellagio, there's one at the Wynn, there's one at the Palazzo.
This is how you know
it's a very successful business.
This is how you know he's losing, when he starts going off on random ass tangents.
I'm just saying.
All I'm saying is, look, these institutions, they won't have a problem. We've seen it. Paying the fees for Ethereum
because you're cheap.
But retail,
look, if you go to Las Vegas and you want to go to the hottest nightclub, you go to the one that has the longest line that costs you $150 to get in. Those are the most successful. Why? Because it's exclusive and it's a hard price to get in. And you know what? People, when they want to be a part of a club, they want to be part of a finance, they're okay paying that premium on Ethereum, so that way they can be on the in crowd. It's no different than finance in the past, okay? Back in the day, you would pay a big ass fee to your broker. You'd be on the phone with them. They'd taken a giant cut, but that was the price of doing business. There it is.
Where is your dance club, Dave? Cabaña del Sol?
Yeah. All I'm saying is, man, you're wrong. We had some terrible news, man. So Kabosu The dog that started meme coins just passed away, and so I've been following the owner on Instagram and on Twitter, and so just want to pay some homage to that. And then we had the ship token handle here today. The internet loses a legend. Thank you, Kobosu, for inspiring a generation of meme makers and dog lovers. Run free across the Rainbow Bridge. And so this was the original post. And so yeah, obviously life is never forever, and so yeah. Anyways, all right, let's talk about this.
You think that you'll get tokens like this, Phantom Doge, RIP ticker?
People are gonna try to make money on everything.
Don't discount it, man. The market moves in very weird ways.
Yeah, you covered that on Wednesday, right? With the new Elon coin. This was interesting. So I actually just put the Phantom wallet on my mom's phone, and so I threw some meme coins in there for her. Shout out to you, Mom. I know she doesn't watch the show, but hey. Phantom flips PayPal to become the #2 finance app on Google Play in the US. So I want you guys, obviously, yay, it's great that people are downloading it, but what does this mean? Does this mean that retail is starting to come in? Does this say that, hey, it's not MetaMask up here, it's a Solana wallet? What kind of information or outlook can you take away from this one piece of information here? I'll start with you first, Forrest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the immediate effect is it's bullish for meme coins, right? Why are they getting a Phantom wallet? Are they getting a Phantom wallet to go pay for their groceries with Solana-based USDC? Not yet. I think we might eventually get there where USDC is used in payment processing, and people kind of use their Phantom wallet as a little bank account with some stable coins in there. But right now, what people are doing with it is they're buying meme coins and they're holding their Solana, right? So I think it's bullish for Solana. I think it's bullish for Solana-based meme coins. I know Phantom does have, Ethereum capabilities, but I think the vast majority of people are onboarding into the Solana, meme coin casino ecosystem. So yeah, in the short term, it's bullish. It's also a really bullish signal in terms of all right, PayPal and Google Play and all of these other TradFi institutions, they've got to pivot, and we've seen PayPal pivot, and we've seen these other institutions pivot and build out crypto offerings. But it's that's where the people are right now. So it shows them that, hey, we've got to move into crypto because there's demand there, and we're getting beat by a pure crypto wallet company.
Forrest, you mentioned meme coins. I want to share this. So you posted this with 10x in price discovery. Trump is next, and you kind of put the two charts next to each other. They do look eerily similar. And then I got this tweet here from crypto.com. The next meme coin to reach $1 billion market cap. What's your you want to kind of expand on this? And a lot of our community, we have a lot of people in here that are into that do hold the Trump token, and that's big thanks to you. But some people, is it too late to get into a project like this? And just meme coins in general, at what point does a risk reward ratio favor risk more than reward?
Sure. Yeah. Obviously, meme coins should be a very small part of anybody's, and I'm not going to sit here and give financial advice. I can't predict the future. I've been very bullish on Trump for reasons I've given, but to reiterate them, I think it's just meme coins trade based off of attention. Really, anything, most anything trades based off of attention. Obviously there's some fundamental aspects and flows and revenue that, stocks will trade off of, but we see meme stocks trade off of attention, not their fundamentals and not their balance sheets. Meme coins trade purely off of attention. How many people are paying attention to this thing and how many people are buying it? You have the most covered, contested, just the biggest, most covered event happening maybe ever. Maybe especially if you're a U.S. citizen, but it's covered globally. It will be covered globally. It's already covered globally. The U.S. 2024 election, that is all anybody's going to be talking about and paying attention to for the next 5-6 months. I mean, that's just like there's nothing else bigger going on in the world. Knock on wood. I would hate for something, you know, bigger to come along, because it probably wouldn't be a good thing. And I think that's where the most, you know, crypto's hot right now. We're in a bull market. That is where the vast majority of attention is going to be. Trump's an Ethereum-based meme coin, and we've seen Solana meme coins dominate, but now we've got Ethereum ETF approval, right? So if Ethereum continues to do well and Ethereum goes up in price and Ethereum meme coins follow suit, like Pepe's doing really well. That's an Ethereum-based meme coin. I think that Trump is poised to see a 10x. Is it risky? Yeah, of course. Is it guaranteed? No, of course not. I mean, I can't predict the future, but that's where I've placed a big bet. That's where I continue to place big bets, and I think there's a strong precedent to be set that, you know, that or a strong case to be made rather, that Trump's the next big meme coin. It's already, you know, moved up to the mid cap range, but there's a couple meme coins ahead of it that I just don't think deserve the same amount of market cap share and market share that Trump does. I don't know. That's my thesis. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be wrong.
Well, played out pretty damn good so far. So I'm gonna throw it over. Yeah, I'm gonna throw it over to Rob. Rob, you want to show some love to the chat, and we'll get into the market.
Yeah, if you are new here, we'd love to give you a shout out. Say what up. We'll say hola back at you. I got Damien 8. I have Commander Crunk J Pool. I know you've been here before, but just a big shout out to you again. Paul B, Cardano Mint, Maximum Mint, and then Eric Carlson. To all of you, hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto.
I see someone's buying Ashley and Mercedes. Or
what?
Yeah. Anyways, let's take a look at the markets here.
So, as we mentioned, Bitcoin moving up to the right. Big move today. So this is only 24 hours here. You can see that we came up from 67. We even went down prior to this big rally right to 66. And so from 7 a.m. from 66 to 69,000, a $3,000 move. Pretty good. I mean, that's just shy of 5% there in the short term. So pretty healthy move. But if you take a look at the 7-day, you see that perhaps we'll go up and test that 72K mark again. That's where we got straight rejected at last time. And then you can just to remember, you had the
what are those that you hover over? What are those little notes there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when these things started popping up.
New?
Yeah. But previous all-time highs back here. So basically we're going up and testing those out. Taking a look at the altcoin markets, some of the big movers today. I know Ondo was up big. Yeah, Ondo up 15%, up 15% on the week as well. And then you got Lido, obviously tied to the hip with Ethereum. And then you got a couple other big movers as well. Pendle Core, Chainlink up 7%. But take a look at the weekly here. Top two are meme coins, and we've talked about this over and over again. If you're looking for swing trade positions, wait for the pullback on Bitcoin, which we see a pretty big drawdown on these meme coins, and then they pretty much always bounce up 50%. So if we find a scenario where Bitcoin's back down to 65 or 66,000, I would expect about a 50% drawdown on these meme coins, or at least 30%. Put a spot in on those, hold it for 2 weeks, wait for Bitcoin to get back up to 70. You pretty much historically, you look at history, pretty comfortable to say that with Pepe and Bonk, you'll be up a nice 40% there, or at least that's what we've seen weekend every few weeks when Bitcoin has a little pullback. So some of the ones that we've seen pull back, BitTensor down.
There
3%.
you go.
Athena,
round of applause for my
Injective.
friend Robin here. Finally.
This is
Better late than never, huh?
Bite You Sir is down, but it's still up 14%. And then
Bite You Sir. Forrest, can we take a look at an Ethereum chart? ETH flat over the hour, flat over the 24 hour, up 20% over the last 7 days. A lot of people who are watching might be saying, "Oh, the ETF got approved. Why isn't it pumping?" What is the chart telling you?
Sure. Yeah, so let's maybe zoom out to the 4 hour to start. I mean, look, it's pretty straightforward. What's happening with ETH right now? You had this long kind of bleed out consolidation as Bitcoin was kind of trending sideways in its range, right? Kind of trending sideways. Ethereum was just kind of bleeding in a downwards trend, right? Our key level, kind of our initial level of support that flipped into resistance and that we've recently pumped through was this $3,150 to $3,300 range, right? We throw on our margin pressure levels, which I'm not going to get too into because they are kind of a little bit more complicated, but they are support and resistance, right? We're starting to consolidate around this 4x long margin pressure level at 3,750. We took a brief trip down to 3,500, which acted as support, but if we get rid of those, and we just look at the chart from this, this support resistance range, what will frequently happen, and I do lean more bullish than bearish here. However, always be ready for the bearish circumstance. The place, in my opinion, to bid is if we get almost the full retrace, right? If we come all the way back down to 32 to 3,300, what will often happen on a downtrend breakout like this is you get a lot of hype and a lot of people taking short-term positions. And then the second something bearish happens, right, they puke those positions back down and we have to retest support down here back at 3,300, the point where we broke out, right? So if you find, if you find that Bitcoin's coming back down to 65, 60, even lower, maybe even like, 62K, 60K, if Bitcoin comes back down to the bottom of its range, look to pick up Ethereum down here in this green zone. Because I do think ultimately this will resolve upwards. It could take some time. It could take, it could be nasty and choppy if we do get 3,200 opportunity, but I think that's where you want to pick it up. Alternatively, look, I mean, the macro, high time frame structure for ETH is actually quite bullish. You got a pretty strong, inverse head and shoulders here playing out, and we're kind of back up above the neckline. So I could see this thing running to all-time highs if Bitcoin, breaks out from that 70, 71K resistance level. So look, it's either going to go up or it's going to go down because we're in a bullish market structure. I think if it goes down, $3,200 to $3,300 is your bid level. And if it goes up, hopefully you've already got some exposure. If you don't, you can probably get some Ethereum beta, meaning something that'll, fall into lockstep with Ethereum, but maybe even be more volatile to the upside. Something like Ondo, something like Pepe, something like Maker, something like Lido, Arbitrum, Optimism, all these coins that are kind of in the Ethereum ecosystem could be good ways to express this trade to the upside if we do start breaking all-time highs in Bitcoin and we see Ethereum follow. So a couple scenarios there that could play out and how to play each of them accordingly.
Awesome. Any other charts for us that kind of stand out to you as far as maybe like a good trade setup or something that's on the cusp? You know what, Forrest? Can you actually pull up HBAR Hedera hash graph? We did a video on it this morning. That'll come out in about an hour and 15 minutes. And I was looking at the daily on there. It was looking like a little symmetrical triangle is getting ready to break out of. What does the price action look like on Hedera?
Yeah, so HBAR, I think is, for me, it's a little bit higher risk reward trade if you're going to take it, just because I don't have a fundamental thesis for it, but the chart itself is actually looking really nice. I'm going to just draw this real quick. We do have this kind of expanding volatility that oftentimes precedes very large moves in any asset for that matter. But this expanding volatility is a really good sign. Oftentimes resolves in really, really large moves to the upside. So I actually think you have a pretty decent setup here for an HBAR long with pretty clear targets around 25 to 26 cents. And very clear invalidation, right? If it comes down and makes a new low, right? So we saw the low that it made after it retraced the BlackRock news, right? We saw this pump, we saw the full retrace, right? And this was another perfect example of what we're potentially looking for on Ethereum. we saw this huge Ethereum pump, right, breaking our downtrend level, and then we came back down to retest it. That would be kind of the corresponding entry point that we'd be looking for on Ethereum. But with HBAR here, we've kind of already retested that and held it. If we go below this full retrace, you probably want to be stopping yourself out, looking to get in lower or looking elsewhere. But right now we're seeing expanding volatility and a pretty big gap, in terms of, volume here, that we could potentially, pop up to 26, 27 cents. 25 at the more conservative level. And that is a pretty decent risk reward trade. That's like seven, almost 8 to 1 risk reward, depending on how tight you keep your stop loss from here. So I do like this trade. I do think it's just a little bit, look, if you want lower risk reward, you Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're going to treat you with a little bit less volatility, little less risk. If you're willing to crawl out a little bit further on the risk curve here into HBAR, I think there's a solid trade to be had here. This is something that I've personally been charting. I don't have an entry yet, but I'll be considering one. I really will. We're kind of trying to hold support here over on this guy around 10 cents or so. But I could see this moving aggressively, especially if the real world asset narrative kicks into high gear and we see stuff like Ondo and AVAX do really well. I think HBAR could follow in their footsteps. I'm also in the camp that we're it feels like alt season is around the corner. It feels like we're one solid Bitcoin leg away from a really massive alt season. And I think, any RWA, real world asset type coins could do really, really well. The last thing I'll say is it's just like a nice rounded bottom forming. So I think the chart here looks good. Just know you're taking a little bit more risk than if you're just trading something like Bitcoin or ETH.
Awesome. But with risk comes reward. I do want to share a couple of news on altcoins. So as mentioned earlier in the very beginning of the show, Definity and the ICP community, they are currently in Zurich. We should go to that one next year. And a couple of big things coming out. The first one is Definity's new API boosts internet computer smart contracts with cross-chain prowess. So EVM RPC allows ICP smart contracts to read and write on any Ethereum virtual machine compatible chain, such as Optimism, Arbitrum, and Base, without relying on intermediaries. This API simplifies multi-chain dApp development and eliminates the need for bridges and wrap tokens. It allows native chain interactions and liquidity facilitation through the network API keys. This is a quote from Definity. This way, Definity's chain fusion technology enables true multi-chain interoperability, allowing developers to write a single ICP smart contract that can custody Bitcoin and programmatically trigger sending it based on events observed on Ethereum DeFi smart contract. I don't know of any other chain that's doing this. Of course, you have interoperability and, bridged and wrapped assets. This isn't that. These are native assets on the native chain through ICP. One of the many reasons I am bullish on the project. Other projects that we're bullish on, well, here you have Grayscale launches investments trust for Stacks and Near protocol. So this is interesting. Obviously, they launch trust based on, hey, volume, what do investors want? What do we think can do well? Because they make fees off of it. And then, which leads me to this. 2 cryptocurrencies to reach $10 billion market cap in the first half of 2024, which is like less than a month away. And the two here are Near Protocol and Polygon Matic. If we take a look at where they both are on the charts, you have Polygon Near, so they're 17 and 18. Near coming in at $8.58 billion in market cap, followed by Polygon at $7.15 billion in market cap. Obviously, Near is closer. But Rob, what are your thoughts on Near and Polygon? And if you had to put your eggs in one of these baskets, which basket are you picking?
Oh, definitely Near. So the two are right there at kind of the similar market caps, are pretty much damn near the same. And so, the upside for both as far as, the return is the same, right? Or at least the risk.
Well, Near has a $1.4 billion lead.
Yeah, cap. But in the grand scheme of things, they're pretty similar, right? As far as market cap, kind of that same area. I just think that Polygon is on the back end of its adoption, right? At least on the adoption curve. We had a massive interest, a lot of partnerships with Polygon early, even post last bull market. And in turn, we saw Polygon outperform even Bitcoin in the bear market. And we saw some big run-ups when everything was bleeding off. With that said, the developers are just moving away, or at least they're diversifying from the Ethereum network. They're going elsewhere. And so is there a need for Polygon?
Oh, it's
Absolutely.
funny. You remember our conversation 20 minutes ago? Anyway, sorry.
I am saying that even when, okay, here's a good example. Our conversation earlier, as you're alluding to, when Uniswap V3 came out and it was cheaper, people still used Uniswap V2. That was the go-to one, even though it was cheaper.
That's where the liquidity was.
Yeah. And that's where the liquidity is now. The liquidity for DeFi lives on Ethereum. Now, perhaps it's bleeding off a little more so than it was. Maybe their share of DeFi pie is less than it was, but don't discount people's willingness to spend money. Anyway, we're not going back there. We're not going back.
I don't want.
We're not doing this. But what I'm saying is that I think that Polygon is tapering off for adoption, or at least its dApps developers, partnerships, big news, and users. And it is moving over to other chains, and Near protocol is growing. I mean, you have to be in the same camp as I am, right?
Yeah.
You agree that if you had to put a position in on one or the other
Near.
on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 8-year time
Near.
horizon, it's Near for everything, right?
All day long.
Yeah, it's accelerating, right? Everything, TVL, dApps, you name it, they're out. They're accelerating. Everything is growing. Their roadmap, they're knocking it out. They haven't had any setbacks lately, none. And so, for me, Near protocol all day.
Robert Vermouth said Base has hurt Polygon. That's interesting, right? It's a case of, hey, there's so many products and services out there. We know Polygon had a big bear market rally from 70, 60 cents to $1.50, but has been absolutely underperforming. Forrest, what are your thoughts on this Polygon Near protocol? Which one do you think has more upside? If you were to bank on which side would you take?
Yeah, like in a bull market, you really want to go with relative strength and narrative, and that's where Near is pulling ahead. Near's catching a lot of relative strength, a lot of narrative. It's seeing a lot of good on-chain flows, on-chain data. TVL, as Robin mentioned, is going up. Still about a third of where Polygon is at in terms of TVL. They're in like the $300 million range versus the $900 million range that Polygon's in. But Polygon's really been struggling with narrative. They've really been struggling to capture the attention of the market. Could they maybe be?
You think they're doing
could
too
there be
much?
a catch-up trade there if they have some good news come out? Maybe, but I really don't want to bank on that. I think you really want to, in a bull market, align yourself with narrative and attention, and I think that's where Near's
Forrest, do you think Polygon's doing too much? Right, you had the Polygon, the ZK, you have the aggregator chain, you have I don't know, are they doing too much here?
Yeah, they try to hop on every single narrative that kind of pops up, and because of that, I feel like people are just kind of they're not just acquiring users and getting people to develop on their chain. Again, does Matic potentially have a bright future? Sure. But right now we're just seeing what I pay attention to most is narrative and growth, right? Where are the users going? Where's the TVL going? Where's the money flowing? And all of those signs are pointing towards Near right now versus Matic. So that's where I want to align myself with. I want to align myself with the protocol and the chain that is growing rather than seeing negative growth.
Yeah, no pushback there, obviously.
Did want to, it's been a while since we've had a Chuck Norris joke. So, without further ado, you got Chuck Norris mines Bitcoins with a pen and paper.
Chucky. That was really good, Robin.
I know.
How long did it take you to find that?
You know, sometimes I just randomly, you know, it's funny because Rocco watches me scroll through Twitter and he sees me stop at funny memes sometimes, and I'm just easily entertained.
Funny, I never hear him laugh.
I got my mic closed
Yeah.
for your amusement.
If in case you're wondering, he's not laughing in the background. He's just like, what is this guy doing? He's like a kid. Anyways, do want to give one more thank you to channel sponsor Cam's Blue Wire Technology. If you want to learn how they can help your business scale and grow, visit bluewiretech.com. Also, guys, if you want more Forrest, he does have a YouTube channel. We're talking about him. He's going to start live streaming more often. Also, he's got a Discord. Also, visit Sistine.ai. If you want some of the research papers and insight that Forrest gives, also has some indicators on there as well you can use from TradingView. And if you use the code OLA25, all caps, you do save 25% off any service you get there. And so something that's made me a lot of money. It's made Robin a lot of money and a lot of our users here that are on that program. So big shout out to you, Forrest. That's all we got for today. Anyone have anything else to add before I do the thing?
Yeah, do your finger tornado.
Hold on. What's
Look it right on the camera, though.
where are we coming in at on Bitcoin price?
78,600.
On Monday? Monday.
I'm going full bull tard, man.
It's 2024, not 2025.
I'm very bullish.
I think
Very bullish.
71.5 is where we're at Monday.
78.6. Forrest, what's your price prediction for Monday?
For Monday, what's today? Friday? Let's be bullish. Let's go
Okay.
73.5. Let's actually hold on. What's the all-time high? Let's go 74.5. Let's go all-time high.
74.5. I'm at 78.6. Robin, where are you at?
71.5.
71.5. Rocco, where are you at?
I'm going to stick with 69.
69?
Yeah.
Okay. So no
And
more.
then
And
put
more
in
than
the
we-
chat, where is Bitcoin's price going to be at? And if we're all wrong, we'll look at we'll go back and look at the chat here, and we'll pick one out that was pretty close and give you a big shout out. So Crypto Billy says 72.7. So
It's going to be a bullish weekend.
Pretty good.
It's going to be a bullish weekend. All right. With that being said, Rocco, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. It's been a great week. Make sure you got your notifications on, as we will be in Austin, Texas next week. So we might, some of the times might be a little different. And also make sure you're following us on X for updates in real time. Have a lovely weekend, guys. We love you. Make sure to watch the Hedera video coming out in about 1 hour. We'll see you next week.
Ciao a tutti.
Big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.